Hello and welcome to episode 51 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Of course, I am your host, Rick Doherty. Today, we'll be talking about my favorite of the Epcot festivals, Epcot's International Festival of the Arts. Danielle, who's one of my oldest friends from when I lived in Pennsylvania, and her daughter joined me for the opening day of the festival last Friday. She'll be here to talk about her experiences with the food, entertainment, and most importantly, those infamous Figment popcorn buckets. I returned to the festival again earlier this week to try more of the offerings, so I'll be talking about a lot of those items as well. And Sarah from Seattle will be here to tell us more about two different festivals, one coming to Epcot and one coming to Universal Studios Florida. Before we get started, I wanted to remind everyone that I'm planning something epic later this year. In June and July, I'm planning on completing a 620-mile pilgrimage along the Ireland Way. In addition to my own physical, mental, and spiritual motivations for this journey, I'm also trying to raise money and awareness for the organization Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence. This is a cause close to my heart. For almost a year, I've volunteered as a blog writer for the organization. We help share information about domestic violence and abuse, and we help survivors in a number of different ways. To help my efforts to raise funds in honor of my pilgrimage in Ireland, please visit the link in the description. I would really appreciate it, even if it's just a small donation. Next week will also mark the 1-year anniversary of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty, and I'm planning a giveaway as a celebration. We actually would have already done it, but I keep getting small Disney and Universal items to add to the package. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and check out the next few episodes. Also follow me on social media, facebook.com/ear-to-there-rick, twitter.com/rick_ear, instagram.com/rickear2there, and follow the podcast itself at twitter.com/TGTT podcast. That is where to go to get blogs, videos, pictures, and live streams from the parks. You'll get the chance to see almost all the food items discussed on the show today by following. With all that out of the way, let's welcome Danielle to the show. Thanks for being here, Dee.
Thanks for having me.
So today I'm going to be talking about both of my experiences at Epcot's International Festival of the Arts, but Danielle is here because she spent the first day with me, the opening day of the festival. We hung out together with her daughter and had a fantastic time. So we're going to talk about some of the things that we experienced together. Then I'm going to stay on the show to tell you about the things I experienced when I went to the festival another day later in the week. So let's get the 300-pound elephant or fictional dragon out of the way. We were there for the Figment popcorn buckets. Danielle has such a great story about the Figment popcorn bucket, and I want her to share that with you right now because it was not looking good for her daughter getting one of these.
No, I think, what was it? By the time we got there, the line was wrapped the whole way back to, where was it? Like
almost test track.
Yeah, almost test track. And there were people like chit-chatting about the line being 6 hours long. And we had been there for an hour and the line hadn't moved.
We were there for about an hour and we did not move at all.
Kaylee had went and played in the playground for a little bit. You know, for a 7-year-old, she was kind of getting a little like, Mom, this line hasn't moved. You know, it's not a big deal. We'll just try another time. When in mommy brain, I'm like, there might not be another time. They might be gone. So we were getting ready to get out of line, and this woman just walks up and hands my daughter a Figment popcorn bucket and tells her to have a magical day. Like, I was stunned. I was like, what's going on?
So this woman, literally, who must have waited in line, gotten the 2 popcorn buckets she was allowed to get, and just walked up to Danielle's daughter and gave her one, which showed a couple of things. One, that with everything you're seeing about how crazy it was, there are still good people Yes, there are resellers, but there are still good people who walked along the line trying to find a kid to give the kid the popcorn bucket. And it does show something else, that she had to get as far down as us until she found a kid, which shows you just how many people in line were adults. But what a great story.
Right. It was. And our day was full of magic, right? Like, I had my doubts about the day to begin with, and it kind of turned around right from that point.
We did have a lot of magic that day. It really was a fantastic day. As a matter of fact, even the simplest things went well for us, like when you tried to get a Mickey pretzel and for some reason the cast member just gave you two. When does that happen?
I was like, wait, I only ordered one. She's like, have a great day. I said, okay.
Free stuff at Disney is few and far between. So I'm actually going to tell the story quickly about how I got my Figment popcorn bucket, because a little later in the day, you and your daughter went to do some other things, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. And I had a friend who was waiting in line because he wanted to buy a Figment popcorn bucket for a woman who got bullied online. But he decided he was going to get her this Figment popcorn bucket that she wanted, and he waited for 5 hours, 15 minutes. About the last 45, I hung out with him to keep him company. There were a bunch of other people who were keeping him company as well. And I wasn't going to get the Figment popcorn bucket because I didn't wait in line the whole time. But the people behind him said, go ahead, get a popcorn bucket. You helped him wait in line doing this nice thing. So that was really cool. I was able to get my Figment popcorn bucket. The first thing I want to discuss about that is, what did you think about the actual popcorn on the inside? So many people talking about the bucket. I thought it was interesting.
My daughter, of course, loved it because it tasted like fruit. She said, it kind of tastes like Fruit Loops, Mom. The thing is, like, my kid will use that bucket. Like, I know I'm going to be that mom dragging it around every park because she wants to eat popcorn out of that bucket. I think it was a treat that they had the rainbow flavored popcorn, but yeah, it was a cool fruity flavor, I think.
I almost thought it tasted like Fruity Pebbles popcorn.
That too. Yeah, I would agree. The only bad part about that popcorn is it left a nice sticky residue on the inside of the dragon. So when I got home, I was cleaning Figment out from top to bottom.
So let's talk about some of the other food that we had when we were there together. We went to Vibrante and Vivido Encanto Cochina, which is between France and Morocco. And there are 3 food items on the menu. And you had an interesting observation about all 3 of those items.
Yeah. So, of course, Encanto is this great new Disney animated movie that has just come out. I think my daughter has watched it literally 100 times. She knows every song to it. And when we actually sat there and looked at it, my daughter actually said, hey, isn't that soup in the movie? So, of course, I went back through and looked, and the soup is in the movie. The empanada's in the movie. And I'm not 100% sure about the fruit mousse, but I'm very sure that during the family dinner, there is a bigger size portion of the same fruit mousse sitting in the middle of the table. So I really was like, oh my God, that whole thing was circling Encanto, and we didn't even know it.
That's so great, because I know so many people love this movie. It really is. The Bruno song just surpassed Frozen for the biggest hit from a Disney movie in recent years. It passed Let It Go. Like, that's how big this phenomena has been lately. And it's something for kids in Epcot's World Showcase, which is important. It's always good in the more adult section of Epcot to have things that will appeal to kids. You got the house-made chorizo and potato empanada with turmeric aioli and annatto aioli. So why don't you tell me about that?
So I'm really weird about spices. So if something's too spicy, I'm not going to eat it. When I took my first bite, I had this really decent cheesy taste. It was almost kind of like sausage that was mixed in with the potatoes. It had a little bit of a red peppery kick, but I mean, but I thought it was pretty good. It was nice and hot and crispy. I would buy it again.
And I got the passion fruit mousse with dragon fruit jam. As a vegetarian, I have to make sure with all of these mousses, or meese, I don't know exactly how you pluralize mousse, that it doesn't have gelatin in it. I'm not allowed to have gelatin. I asked, they checked. This did not have gelatin in it, and it is really, really good. My favorite part about it is that it tastes like fresh fruit. The filling on the inside, which I assume is that dragon fruit jam, doesn't taste processed. It really does taste like fresh fruit. The passion fruit mousse on the outside is very creamy, and then it has a white chocolate artistic piece on the top that you can eat as well. You also got this passion fruit mousse, right?
I did, yep, which my daughter mostly inhaled. So there's that. The fact that my 7-year-old loved it speaks volumes because she's a picky child and she absolutely loved it. She said it was super creamy. It had a really good flavor. It wasn't too sweet. And the dragon fruit jelly was really good.
It is funny eating around the world with Danielle's daughter because she's like a little food critic who literally has these types of conversations just on her own.
She's her own connoisseur. It's so funny. Like she'll sit there and really analyze it.
And then when I went back, I got the coconut and passion fruit smoothie, which is non-alcoholic, and it comes in a special plastic cup that says Epcot's International Festival of the Arts on it and has a little bit of artwork on it. They very much stress, do not put it in the dishwasher. I think that's almost common sense, but apparently a bunch of people tried it. This was really good. I don't like coconut very much, but I wanted to try it, and let's be honest, I wanted the free cup. The passion fruit overpowers the coconut taste, so you don't get that really, really strong coconut taste. It's very refreshing. Unfortunately, the day I got it, it was a very cold day at Epcot, but on a hot day at Epcot, this would be something that I would definitely recommend picking up because there's not a lot of shade throughout World Showcase, and sometimes you really need to get a nice cold beverage. We also ate at Pastoral Palette, which is right by the Germany Pavilion, and you got 3 items at this booth. You got the red wine braised beef short rib with parsnip puree, broccolini, baby tomatoes, and aged balsamic. You got the opera cake with almond, jacqueline, coffee buttercream, and chocolate ganache. And you did a little bit of the adult beverages.
I did.
3 Daughters Brewing Rose Hard Cider from St. Petersburg, Florida. This was an interesting flight, though, because it had a beer, a cider, and I can't remember exactly what the third one was. I guess it was more like an alcoholic slushy, right?
It was a frozen rosé. So it was kind of like a play on the first hard cider rosé, but in frozen form, basically. They were all pretty good. I had a hard time going from the rosé hard cider to the hoppy brew in the middle to then the frozen rosé. There was 2 sweets and a bitter. So I guess really if I had done the bitter first, it would have been okay. All in all, they all had smooth taste to them.
And then your daughter got the opera cake and did not like it. So I actually had a bite of it, and I thought it was really good, but I can understand how it had a really, really strong coffee flavor. Coffee is a flavor that you adjust to more when you're an adult, and when you're a kid, you see this cake and you don't realize it's going to be almost as fancy as it is. It's almost like something your grandmother would eat. I understand why she didn't like it, but I liked it a lot. I would suggest this not being a sweet treat that you get for a kid. This is more for the older people in your group. The red wine braised beef short rib. The thing I know about this, I'm a vegetarian, so I didn't have any of it, but I saw you put the fork into it, and it almost fell apart. It looked really, really quality.
It was definitely like melt in your mouth quality beef. Like I was not expecting that. Usually when you go to things like this, the meat is almost hard and chewy. The fact that this fell apart, amazing. And to be honest with you, I didn't even realize that was parsnip puree. It was so good. I almost thought it was like potatoes, to be honest with you. And the broccolini was cooked to perfection, basically. What's nice about Disney, what I was surprised by was when I had ordered the entree, I asked them to give me an extra thing of broccolini because I don't really like tomatoes. And they didn't even think twice. They said, no problem. That's not a big deal. We'll just take the tomatoes off, put the extra broccolini. And they said, do you want any extra aged balsamic? And I said, sure.
And while you were enjoying those items from Pastoral Palette near the Germany Pavilion, I was eating the two things I got at Refreshment Outpost. This is the plant-based bratwurst with spicy turmeric aioli, coffee barbecue jackfruit, and slaw. This is returning from last year, and I'm just going to be honest, last year's portion was bigger. But it's still really, really good. The coffee barbecue jackfruit is so surprisingly good. It doesn't sound like it would be something good. It just brings these extra flavors, and they combine with all the things put on the bratwurst, and it is a really interesting dish. I also got the Artist Palette Jumbo Chocolate Chip Cookie. This is a chocolate chip cookie with some icing on it that makes it look like it is an artist's palette. So the icing looks like paint, and it comes with a little tiny paintbrush so you can mix it up a little bit if you want to. It's really, really pretty. Very Instagrammable. It's also a nice size for the price. The cookie itself was less than $6, and it was huge. The only issue is it wasn't the freshest cookie. Where Danielle had that really, really fresh meat that was perfectly tender and everything like that, this felt like the cookie had been sitting around for a little bit. And that's okay. I understand that's how it goes, but just putting that out there.
Isn't that the same place where we got our sporks?
That is the same place that we got the Figment sporks for $2.99. So all the hype about the Figment popcorn bucket, and there are Figment sporks all over the place. And they are just as cute, if I do say so myself.
Absolutely.
And we went to the Donut Box, which is near Test Track. This has been added to the last few festivals, and we got two really, really good items there. We split them, so you got the inside-out donut, a vanilla donut with Bavarian cream, but instead of the Bavarian cream being in the center, it was a coating on the outside of the donut. It was very interesting. I don't know if I necessarily thought it was the best, but I did enjoy the icing.
Yeah, I mean, what I thought was interesting, I think what they did was even with the hard shell on the outside, do you remember there was like a cold cream on the inside of it that surrounded the donut?
Yes.
I really like how they did that. And honestly, I don't know how they did that because I'm thinking to myself, how did they coat that and it's still cold? But anyway, I thought it was pretty good. It was really creamy. However, what you got, the presentation alone was fantastic. It made me want to eat it.
And you did share some of it with me. The vanilla donut with strawberry sugar, strawberry ice cream, and really it wasn't strawberry ice cream. It was more of a sorbet.
Mm-hmm.
Fresh strawberries and strawberry gel. Like Danielle said, first of all, it was gorgeous. Once again, very Instagrammable. But some of these things can look good and be great for social media and taste awful. This was not one of them. The fruit was fresh, and that doesn't always happen. I know I've said the fruit was fresh or fruit tasted fresh a couple times today, but that's not ubiquitous. That doesn't happen every time you get one of these items. This, however, did taste fresh. The strawberry ice cream was really good. It tasted fruity and not sugary. And the donut was okay, but frankly, compared to everything else, I used the donut more to dip into the ice cream. I felt everything on the plate went well together, and it wasn't just the donut that was the star of the show.
Right. Even the strawberry gel, I was a little hesitant about, but when it did the sorbet, it was a little bit better. But the donut itself was moist. It was actually really good. It wasn't what I expected at all.
And everything on the plate went well together, even though it's sort of all spread out to have this artistic theme. That's one of the big things about Festival of the Arts is you don't only get the food like you do at Food and Wine Festival or Flower and Garden Festival or Festival of the Holidays. They put a lot into the presentation of these dishes so they look beautiful. That sometimes makes the line longer because you have to wait for them to put together each individual serving before it goes out. And the food is also, we'll just be honest, more expensive at this festival than at the other festivals. However, I also think it's more quality food than at some of the other festivals as well.
I would attest to that because I went to the Food and Wine, and I feel like even though there were places everywhere that had food, some of them all kind of tasted the same to me. With the art festival, everything had its own like pizzazz. Like there was a distinct taste that they went after, and the presentation was just beautiful.
And before I let you go, you and your daughter experienced two of the Fun for Kids of All Ages events happening throughout the festival. The Expression section, a paint-by-number mural in World Nature near the Land Pavilion. You're going to have to wait in a little bit of a line to do this. It's very popular this year, but why don't you talk about that?
Initially, when you get there, right across from the mural, there's another stand where they hand out these little serving cups that have numbers on top of them, and you get your own paintbrush. So my daughter and I got the number 3 and she got the number 1. We ended up swapping colors because my color was better than hers. Welcome to the life of a 7-year-old. So we get to the mural and you get to paint 6 squares on the mural of your color. It is literally a huge paint by number. We both got to paint what we needed to. And when we left, they give you a bookmark that shows you what the mural is going to look like when everyone's done. To me, that's amazing because I think in the past they've used these murals in other parts of the park. Like I think they actually display them when they're done. I never got to participate in it before, so this year it was really cool to have both of us doing it.
And all 3 of us took part in the Animation Academy. This happens at 12:30 in the afternoon and 1:30 in the afternoon every day. You learn how to draw a Disney character from an animation artist. We showed up at 12:36 and they were still seating people. We got to draw Goofy. I know that your daughter had a good time doing that, and I'm going to be honest, I had a blast doing it. It is so incredible how an expert can sit there, and he wasn't that close to us. We were sitting at America Gardens Theater. We were kind of towards the back, but he was still able to use the video monitors to show us how to draw Goofy, and all 3 of our Goofies came out looking like Goofy.
I really appreciated how the time that they take to actually wait for people to catch up to do it, make sure everybody's got it. You know, I always hit on this point because people are like, why do you take your daughter to Epcot so much? That's not really for kids. Really, there are a lot of things there for kids to do, and people just don't pay attention to it. It really depends on what your child's into. But that day in particular, that is one of the things that she talked about, even on the way home, was how she got to draw another character. I wonder what they're going to have next week. Like, it always brings her back for more.
This is a particularly good festival for kids because they have art in a whole bunch of different tents. The art is for sale, but they will also have the artists who make it there. They'll sign your artwork if you buy it. They'll talk to kids about being an artist. That's incredible. That is the type of thing that is going to get a kid interested in going to school or trying new things. Once your daughter saw that she could draw Goofy, now she has all that inspiration. She might be able to draw something else, and maybe that'll lead to her getting into art. And maybe it won't. Maybe it'll just be a memory from this one day, but that's a priceless memory anyway. So who cares if it leads to anything else? This is a great festival for kids. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to Danielle about it, because she got to experience it with her kid. Danielle, always awesome talking to you. People listening don't know, we have been friends for like ever, since you were practically right out of high school. So it's really fun to have you on this show. And I will see you in the parks again real soon.
Sounds good, my friend.
Like I said, I spent more time at Epcot for Festival of the Arts without Danielle. That includes a visit to the booth Gourmet Landscapes near the Canada Pavilion. This is where I tried the blood orange braised beet carpaccio and the wild mushroom risotto. We're going to start with the wild mushroom risotto, which is vegetarian but not vegan. I was really excited about this dish, and the flavor lived up to the expectations. Where it came up short was the portion size compared to the price. It was over $9, and it was a very, very small portion. So while I loved it and a bigger portion might have made it my favorite item of the festival, I just have to knock it down because it was expensive and it wasn't big. On the other hand, the blood orange braised beet carpaccio was the exact opposite. It was just a little over $5. The presentation was beautiful. They really went into that theme of Festival of the Arts by trying to make it a gorgeous display. And surprisingly, for a completely vegan option, this was very, very flavorful. The beets were pickled, and there was some mustard and some other seasonings, and they really came together well. I wasn't expecting a lot from this dish, but I ended up liking it probably even more than the wild mushroom risotto if you take into consideration the price. Pop Eats is the booth that sold the Figment popcorn buckets, so I waited until they were sold out of those to try the food options. I got the tomato soup with grilled cheese and the Popped Art. So the Popped Art is essentially a Pop-Tart, and it was really good. It had a hazelnut and chocolate center, but basically it was just a fancy version of a Pop-Tart. One of everybody else's favorite items at the festival is the tomato soup with grilled cheese, and I have to say, while it was not my favorite item, it is definitely up there in my top 3 or 4 items. It is comfort food to the extreme. It's quality grilled cheese and the tomato soup. You dip it in there, and it's just phenomenal. There's a reason why people get so excited about this item. At the deconstructed dish, I wanted to get the deconstructed key lime pie, but I know it had mousse. I talked to a cast member. Her name was Eleanor from Norfolk, Massachusetts, and she had to call 5 different chefs from Disney to see if the mousse had gelatin in it. She actually found out that the mousse did have gelatin in it, so I wasn't able to eat it, but I have to give a shout out to Eleanor from Norfolk, Massachusetts, because she went the extra mile to make sure I could or couldn't have it, and found out I couldn't, so I ended up trying the non-alcoholic beverage deconstructed apple pie a la mode. This drink has apple cinnamon gelato, apple cinnamon cider, apple pie filling, and streusel. It was really cold the day I got this. The sun had already gone down for the night. I don't know why I decided to get something this chilly on a chilly night. While it's definitely passable, I don't know how much I really liked it. The apple cider was way too spicy, if you know what I mean by describing an apple cider that way. It was definitely meant for you to mix everything together in the cup, but it was really hard to get the gelato off the bottom of the cup. It just didn't really work for me. Still, it was very creative, and I like that they try to come up with these unique items. Some of them I won't like, but some of them I will really love, including my favorite item from the festival, which can be found at L'Art de la Cuisine Française in the France Pavilion. This is the croissant à la truffle noire d'hiver, which is a black winter truffle croissant. Just awesome. The croissant was flaky, and when you expect to get something sweet with a croissant sometimes, inside was a thick, almost truffle mushroom soup, but it was really thick, so it kept that creamy consistency, but it was savory instead of sweet. I will now get this every time I'm at the festival for the rest of the year. Finally, at Tangerine Cafe, flavors of the Medina, I got the house-made crispy almond phyllo pockets and the carrots 3 ways. The crispy almond phyllo pockets really surprised me as well. They were a dessert that is sweet, but not overbearingly sweet. Another flaky croissant-style outer shell. It contains white chocolate pomegranate, milk chocolate orange, and dark chocolate cardamom. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. The carrots 3 ways, another one of the very rare plant-based items, completely vegan items at the festival. It's Bourbet spiced grilled carrots, pickled carrots, and carrot ginger puree. I didn't like the puree. It kind of tasted how baby food carrots look. But the grilled carrots themselves were really well done and charred on the outside. They were a little crunchy. I loved it. When I don't like cooked carrots is when they get really mushy, and this was not mushy. This one's a middle-of-the-road dish for me. I will get it again because I want to support the plant-based options, but it wasn't my favorite plant-based option. I didn't just take part in food. The Disney on Broadway concert series takes place every night of Festival of the Arts in the American Gardens Theater. The night I attended, I saw Carrie Butler from the Broadway version of Beauty and the Beast and Telly Leung from the Broadway production of Aladdin. Of course, they did songs from Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast, as well as tunes from The Little Mermaid, High School Musical, and my personal favorite, Hercules. Carrie Butler performed an awesome version of I Won't Say I'm in Love. I'm not done with this festival yet either. I'll still be doing the scavenger hunt and seeing more of the performers. Epcot's International Festival of the Arts runs through February 21st. For what is coming after that, I'll turn things over to Sarah from Seattle with some news.
Thanks, Rick. Orlando area theme parks are going to be welcoming some very popular musical acts this spring. First of all, with one Epcot festival getting started, it is time to start looking forward to the next one. Epcot's International Flower and Garden Festival is set to run from March 2nd to the 4th of July. Last week, Disney announced the lineup for Garden Rocks, the concert series that runs at America Gardens Theater during the festival. Among the artists playing in the concert series are The Guess Who, Rick Springfield, Kool and the Gang, the orchestra starring former members of ELO, the Pointer Sisters, Blue October, Starship featuring Mickey Thomas, A Flock of Seagulls, Little River Band, Plain White Tees, and one of my personal favorite bands, Simple Plan. Special Garden Rocks dining packages are available to book now. These packages are either prefix menus or all you care to enjoy, and secure one guaranteed seat for one of the performances that same day with each meal. The choices for Garden Rocks in 2022 are Beer Garden Restaurant in the Germany Pavilion for $57 for adults and $32 for children ages 3 to 9. Coral Reef Restaurant in the Living Seas at $69 for adults and $22 for children. Garden Grill Restaurant in the Land Pavilion with a $66 price tag for adults and $43 for children. And Rose and Crown Dining Room in the United Kingdom Pavilion for $58 for adults and $22 for the kids. The Garden Rocks dining packages are only available Friday through Monday during the festival. This event is famous for its gorgeous topiaries and gardens and the outdoor kitchens. Past favorites have included Epcot's Sunshine Griddle with breakfast items from avocado toast to shrimp and grits. Trowel and Trellis, hosted by Impossible, which specializes in vegan options of many popular food items. And Epcot Farmer Fest with heartier dishes and sides. In coming episodes, we will have way more information on Epcot's International Flower and Garden Festival, and you can also visit freshepcot.com. In addition to Garden Rocks at Epcot, Universal Orlando Resort has announced the concert lineup for Mardi Gras 2022. These shows will take place at the Music Plaza stage at Universal Studios Florida. On the opening day of the festival, February 5th, Sugar Ray will perform with the legendary Diana Ross taking the stage the following Saturday. The event will also feature Bare Naked Ladies, Styx, LL Cool J, Marshmello, Seal, Gavin DeGraw, Jimmy Allen, and Jason Derulo. For a complete list of artists, visit universalorlando.com. Universal's Mardi Gras celebrations run from February 5th through April 24th. Our very own Rick Doherty is staying on property at Universal Orlando Resort for the first weekend of the festivities and will bring a detailed recap of the offerings on episode 53 of the podcast on Thursday, February 10th. I'm Sarah from Seattle, turning things back over to Rick Doherty on Tall Guy Talks Travel.
Next week is our 1-year anniversary, and I'll be joined by Sarah, Marissa from Chicago, and my wife, Courtney. The next 2 episodes will be the most fun we've had in the 12 months we've been doing the show. There will also be a lot more on the YouTube channel and the podcast. We'll have more from Epcot's International Festival of the Arts. We'll be at the first day of Mardi Gras 2022 at Universal Studios Florida. We have dining reservations at Artist Point at Disney's Wilderness Lodge, Mythos at Universal's Islands of Adventure, and Raglan Road at Disney Springs. There'll be an on-property stay at Universal Orlando Resort, and I already have my Park Pass reservation for day 1 of Epcot's International Flower and Garden Festival. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 51 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Have a great week.